is Jets Final Drive. He's Zack Rosenblatt. I am Connor Hughes, and we welcome you to episode 1 of the off-season stretch here for JFD. And Zack, we're going to start with a pretty big announcement. Can you do a drum roll? A drum roll? Can you do that? Because of you guys, the viewers who have made JFD so successful, we are very, very, very excited to announce that we are going to be coming to you every single week throughout the offseason. So for all of you guys that hate Zack and all of you guys that hate me, you have failed miserably because we are going nowhere. This show started last year, and it was a blast. We came your way after every single Jet game, and I think it was always our goal to eventually get to this point where we are a weekly, every single week, you can tune in and get a healthy helping of us, and that is officially going to happen. And again, it is a huge thank you to the listeners and the viewers for making that possible. Zack, I crunched the numbers. 711,000 people across X and YouTube watched us this year, which is absolutely crazy considering this was a Jets team that started the season 0-7. The season was over well before we even got to Halloween. So the fact that we were able to sit here and continue this show because of you guys, I mean, it's a huge thank you. And I'm excited to do this all throughout the offseason with you, buddy, because as we know about the Jets, this is where things get interesting and fun. And I don't have champagne. I also don't think I would be allowed to pop champagne if we did have it, but I did bring my bubbler. Yeah, this is my favorite. I love bubbler, so I will crack open the ceremonial bubbler to celebrate our renewal here for an entire off season of JFD.
I mean, I will say you fumbled saying it there. You said JFC at first, so I think you need a. If we're gonna do this every week, I think unless you're talking about Jesus effing Christ or something, like I don't know.
Yeah,
I know we did start talking about a God that one week. So I think that's what did it. Yeah, that's what did it for you. But yeah, it's exciting. This has been a lot of fun. It is funny. There's some weeks we go into these episodes and I'm like, man, what are we going to talk about? And we find a way to talk about stuff for an hour. And I think we have pretty good convo. And we have a good chat every single week. And we're excited to keep growing this show. So,
well, it's fun too to see the views. Like, cause some of those episodes where we're like, man, we've got nothing today. Like there's nothing. It's another loss. Like, what the hell are we going to talk about? And then you go and you see the numbers and you're like, wow, people really chimed in for that. Or like Brian, our producer, will make a comment like, yeah, I was watching the live numbers on YouTube. It was actually pretty great. So, thank you guys again so much. Like the fun part about this job, and I think one of the most fun parts about this job is actually interacting with you guys throughout it, is getting to know some of you guys, interacting with you and seeing our little core group of viewers grow and grow and grow and grow and grow to where it is now, where like I said, we're going to be coming to you guys every single week throughout the offseason, which is going to be a lot of fun because we're going to be talking quarterback, we're going to be talking free agency, we're going to be talking defensive coordinator, and we're also going to be talking a ton of that here on this show, which, again, we start pretty much every single episode with this way, is that wherever you guys are watching us, we appreciate you, whether that's SNY.TV, X, but the place to be is YouTube. And the reason for it is we have that live comment section running throughout the duration of the show. I think that comment section, Zack, is going to become even more fun throughout these off-season episodes because this is kind of where there's a lot of things on people's mind and what they're questioning, what they have concerns about, what they're thinking, what they want to know, and our ability to dive into that over the next 60 minutes or so and ease some of your concerns or at least answer the questions that are on your guys' mind. We are going to be doing that. So again, place to be is on YouTube, on SNY's YouTube channel, where you can watch JFD and all other of our digital programming, which will be a ton of fun throughout this offseason. And Zack, we are going to get to playoffs, which I thought were freaking awesome this past weekend. The NFL, a hell of a spectacle they put on. But we're actually going to start with a different playoffs, and that is the college football playoffs, where we got a chance to see the Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore Bowl, if you want to call that. And while the NFL playoffs put on an absolute show of just tremendous game after tremendous game after tremendous game, hopefully one more to go here when the Texans take on the Steelers. That Indiana-Oregon game was not tremendous. That was a absolute shellacking. Indiana won the game 56-22. Tremendous performance from Fernando Mendoza. Not so much from Dante Moore. Mendoza 17 of 20 for 177 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Moore, a lot of garbage time yards here with the 24-39, 285, 2 touchdowns, interception, did fumble twice. I will say, Zack, watching this one, it became pretty clear that Mendoza is far and away the top quarterback potentially in this year's class, far and away the best quarterback in college football this year, deserving that Heisman Trophy. And it's really apples and oranges to compare him and Moore at this moment.
I mean, he's just so much more polished, and he just, I don't know, he just has something about him that he's a gamer, and he can kind of do everything pretty well, and there's some things he can do really well. So I don't think it's a huge surprise. I do think the inexperience that Dante Moore had is what you saw there. He struggled the last couple of weeks against some really good defenses, Indiana, Texas Tech. And that's kind of where the questions start with him. Like he's, if you look at the history of guys without experience, I think the number is like under 25 starts over the last decade. It's nobody impressive. I don't have the list in front of me. I'll pull it up while we're talking at some point. But like he just does not seem ready to like step in and be a starter, especially for a team like the Jets, which is definitely not like a quarterback away. So I have concerns about Moore. I still do think it's important not to like just extrapolate so much from one game. It is an important game, and Muji even alluded to like there's still games to come, and those games are going to matter a lot, like in his last press conference. But yeah, I didn't walk away from that game thinking, okay, this is the no doubt Jets day one starter, like he's going to save everything and he's going to fix everything for them. Like there's still a lot of development there to the point where if you're getting him, you have to plan to have a veteran there to ease in, because I don't think he's ready to play right away.
Yeah, again, he's played in 29 games throughout his college career, but not all of them are starts. And I think what you saw exponentially so there was just the difference in experience. I mean, Fernando Mendoza, you're watching this guy. He's not the most athletically gifted quarterback. We knew that, though, going into this. But the way that he throws with anticipation, the way that he throws guys open, the way that he can read what the defense is doing in real time and then get to where he needs to be within his progressions in order to make plays, that's stuff that you get from experience that Mendoza, or that Moore, doesn't necessarily have with under 20 career college starts. It's just not there. There are things he hasn't seen that Mendoza has seen several times. So when they pop up in moments, he knows exactly what he's supposed to do, when in some ways Moore is figuring it out on the fly. But I don't think, Zach, anything happened in that game that made me change how I feel about Moore from before the game to now after the game. And you're right, he did not look good against Texas Tech. I didn't think that. He did not look good against Indiana. And you and I were texting about this and joking that we saw on Jets Twitter, specifically after the Texas Tech game, people were already making excuses for Moore about like, oh, it's a good defense. Oh, it was this. Oh, he hasn't done that. The minute you have to make excuses for quarterbacks, it's DOA, dude. Like it's done. Yeah. Like just stop it. And we've lived with this. Like we've lived it with Sam Darnold. We lived it with Zach Wilson. You live it with honestly, we lived it with Justin Fields as well, where you're not looking at games like, oh, he had a great game against a great competition. You're like, oh, look at that throw. You know what I mean? You're making excuses. But my thing with Moore is that if you talked to anybody who evaluates the draft, either on the amateur level, like the media perspective that you're talking about, like the Connor Rogers and the Dane Bruglers and the Todd McShays, like you talk about all those guys, or you go the route of the people that do it professionally with scouts and coaches and executives, they all told you the same thing about Moore. The guy has a tremendous head on his shoulders. He's an immensely impressive, mature kid. He has all the physical gifts in the world, but he is very immature when it comes to play because he simply has not played. He's in that Anthony Richardson mold of he just needs steps, or he just needs reps, he just needs time. That's what Moore needs. So what you saw against Texas Tech was an example of that. What you saw against Indiana was an example of that. This is a player, and I was talking to Connor Rogers about this, and we both said the same thing. If he is having to play NFL games next year, he's probably going to get himself in trouble. And that makes me wonder where it's not necessarily about the money per se, like $10 million, if we're going to go as high as he can probably get from Oregon, you can't compare it to the $50 million that he would get as being a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. However, if he is as mature as people say he is, does he believe Dante, and I don't know, I haven't talked to him, but does he say, okay, I can get $10 million from Oregon? Again, life-changing money, $10 million, considering he probably already got $4 or $5 million this year. Take the $10 million, go back to Oregon. It's not about passing up $50 million. It's about getting $10 million, continuing to develop, making myself a better quarterback that's ready for the NFL next year, and then going back in the draft where, in all likelihood, he's still going to be a top 5 pick. Is he going to be 2? I don't know, because you'll have Arch and all these other guys in there, but he's still probably a top 5 pick.
I mean, I don't know if you can say probably, because I think there's been many cases. I know. I'm saying there's been many cases of guys who have that pedigree and then go back to college and they tank their draft stock. So like that's kind of the thing here. So you have on one hand, you have a guy who's inexperienced, and the history of inexperienced guys isn't very good, and on the other, you have in recent years guys who go back when they have a first round grade. It often goes terribly. This year is a good example of that with Drew Aller and Garrett Nussmeier. He's a different prospect, but Nussmeier was a guy that was going to go in the first round if he left last year. So there's risk attached to that. But like you said, at least the risk is mitigated a little bit by the fact that he'd be getting $10 million or whatever it is from Oregon. So I don't know. It's going to be fascinating, and the noise around all the everybody since Stephen A. or whoever started it or Todd McShay. There's been even more analysts now coming out and be like, "You should avoid the Jets. You should avoid the Jets." And it's gotten so loud that he probably has heard it by now. I don't know if that means he's going to listen to all these random national analysts. I would hope that's not how he bases his decision. But Dylan Raiola just announced he's committed to Oregon, which is at least interesting because that's like a former 5-star guy. He's been a starter in college football. The reporting was like he would sit in redshirt for a year.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
But I can't think of any. I mean, this is a different time, I guess. But why would he have gone to Oregon if that was the case? Like he could have been a starter somewhere else. So I feel like that's a pretty good indicator that they think Dante Moore is leaving. The fact that there's still not like a definite chance, he has to decide. I believe by like the next week or two. So we'll have some clarity soon. So right now it's all just us like speculating a little bit. But in terms of like just the prospect himself, like. I mean, if the Jets want to take a quarterback this year, he's who you have to kind of take at number 2. If you don't want to take him, you have to talk yourself into Ty Simpson, who has even less experience in college than he does. And that doesn't look that appealing. And then there's Trinidad Chambliss, who we can get into in a minute. But, I don't know. The Jets are, it's funny because Jets fans went into that game being like, we want Dante Moore to show out so he can declare and become our quarterback. And now you're hearing Jets fans who saw how he played, and you're like, no, stay in college. We don't want you anymore. So it's going to be interesting. It's, it's kind of evaluation that can determine the job security of a coach and a GM. And, the Jets coach and GM got to survive a little bit longer than usual when they failed on Zach Wilson because they got the Aaron Rodgers. But usually when you get a number 2 pick, and if it fails, you don't last more than like 2 years. I've looked into this. It's like most head coaches don't last more than a year or two after a failure at that draft pick, and most GMs don't last more than 3 years after that. So it's like, you're banking your job on this guy if you pick him 2 overall. Yeah. And do you think he has the goods to be the guy to bank your job on it? They're banking their job on everything right now because they're probably going to be on the hot seat this year. But I don't know. I'm not like sold on Dante Moore as a no doubt guy, but there's potential there. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know that he's going to be ready right away as a rookie. And this is a team that kind of needs someone who's ready. So
the way that I compare it to Zack, and it's a little different because the Giants got him later and just moved up into the middle of the first round to go select him. But the way people talk about Moore, and having watched him now play a few games here, it does remind me a lot of Jaxson Dart. And now Moore has immensely more talent than Jaxson Dart did. I mean, Jaxson Dart in no way, shape, or form was viewed as a player who was physically worthy of a top 5 overall pick. And I love Jaxson. I think Jackson's a hell of a football player. But his ability as a football player is what makes him a great quarterback. When you look at Moore and his accuracies and his arm strength and also his athletic ability, that's where you're talking about a guy that is talent-wise absolutely worthy of a top 5 overall pick. But the similarities between the two lie in that Dart was viewed as somebody that was not going to be ready year 1. That was the thing about him coming out. It was he played in that Lane Kiffin offense. It was so quarterback friendly, but not pro friendly. He wasn't making reads. He wasn't even doing a snap count under center. It was always clapping. And it was that he was going to need to sit, watch, develop, and maybe in year 2 he would be ready to play. So what the Giants did was they drafted him, but they protected themselves if there was a situation that arose where he was not going to be ready to play. And what that was Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and then you draft Jaxson Dart. Now, what the Giants realized early on, and if they were honest with themselves and hadn't just promised Russell Wilson the starting job when he first signed here, Jaxson would have been the starter week 1. Like, they would have turned it over to Jaxson because very early on, I'm talking OTAs, minicamp, you saw this guy working through drills, and you're like, again, Zach, I joke about this all the time. You and I have never seen a franchise quarterback as a young player very early on to be like, oh, that guy's this is what so-and-so was doing early in his career, and he turned out to be a franchise quarterback. We've never seen it. I've seen Zack. I know what not a franchise quarterback looks like, but I don't know what a franchise guy looks like. Jaxson early in those OTAs and minicamp practices, he was doing things where you were like, that's more advanced than what I'm used to seeing. That's different than what I'm used to seeing. He's already, I mean, I remember him going to a line in 2-minute drills and changing the play based on coverage. Brian Dable giving him call it periods where they turned the headsets off and they said, Jaxson, go call your own plays and move down the field. And watching him go down the field and score touchdowns and make plays where you're like, this guy can do it now. Again, Giants promised Russell Wilson. They let him start, and then eventually they pulled the plug before the Chargers game, and then Jaxson went out there, and look, he's in contention for Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. So there is a chance that you get more in the building, and for some reason, professional coaching clicks in ways that it doesn't, and he's ready. Yeah. But based off of what I saw, like, you can't bank on that. This can't be a Zach Wilson situation where it's Zach, James Morgan, and Mike White. Like, you need somebody that you know can play, whether it's a Kyler Murray or a Marcus Mariota or a Jacoby Brissett, somebody that you know can start 17 games for you if it's needed, and then you give more time to develop and then eventually go to him when he's ready.
I mean, and also, and the difference between Dart and Moore is that Dart played a lot of games in college too. So, like, he came in with that kind of base knowledge a little more than maybe Dante Moore has. So, it just, I am a little scared of the history of guys without experience in college just becoming great pros. And, I've seen the pairing floated of like, okay, draft Dante Moore and sign Kirk Cousins. Like, and if Kirk Cousins is like your veteran stopgap, I do feel pretty good about that because I think he's both a good veteran and a guy that Dante Moore can learn from while learning. And then, if Kirk, falls off or he's, old or like he is, then Dante Moore comes in eventually, or if he outplays him in camp or whatever it is. You just need to have a plan. And I don't know that it's always a great idea to just do what the Giants do because they are terribly run as well. But, signing a veteran or two and drafting Dante Moore, that's how it probably should be if he comes out. And then I maybe this pod or another one, we probably need to discuss if he doesn't come out what that looks like because it's pretty bleak outside of that. But, I'm not ruling out the possibility that Dante Moore is a very good NFL quarterback. It's definitely possible. I think he has the talent. But there's red flags for sure. Like if you're this year, like if he's going into the draft next year, you'll probably feel better about him. But going into this draft, there's some red flags for sure.
You mentioned it quickly. I mean, the Dylan Raiola. If I was advising him, has nothing to do with the Jets, but I would advise Moore to take the $10 million and go back to college and get another year on your belt and then go into the NFL draft next year. Like that's what I would advise he do. I do think ultimately he's going to be coming out though, and the big chess piece there to make you believe that is Raiola, because this is a guy, like you said, really high recruit, has played some big time college football. Like players want to play, man. Like players don't want to sit on the bench. So like he's really going to Oregon when there were so many other big time programs that wanted him, so he could potentially sit behind Moore for a year, and like that's weird. Like that's just very, very weird to me that he would do that, considering the number of colleges that were going to be offering him to just let him start right away or at least compete for the starting job. So that makes me believe that while they're saying, if he comes back, he's the starter, makes me think that Moore is going to declare for the draft eventually here in the coming days. Let's play hypothetical world, though, because this does tend to happen. The worst case scenario for the Jets. And I think that worst case scenario for New York right now is that Moore doesn't declare. Because even as bad as things looked at times against Texas Tech and how really bad they looked against Indiana, he's still going to be the odds-on favorite to be the number 2 overall pick in the draft for the Jets. Like, unless the Jets evaluate him and they're like, we don't like him, he's going to be the number 2 overall pick in the draft as soon as he declares. If he were not to declare and he were to go back to college, even though I don't think that is going to happen in lieu of this Dylan Raiola news, it doesn't look great for the Jets in terms of what they would do after that, because now you are falling into that true Giants method of BPA at 2 and then maybe trading back into the first round for Ty Simpson, who I think looked awful. In fact, he got benched in the college football playoff against Indiana. Or the kid from Ole Miss, Trinidad, who he looks just as raw but less overall talented than what Dante Moore looks. So it's slim pickings, man, if Moore is not there. And then the Jets might really find themselves kicking till the 2027 draft to take a quarterback. And, man, that's running the risk of trusting Woody's going to stay patient for a full 12 more months.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, I just want to circle back real quick. You mentioned, like, okay, let's say they evaluate Dante Moore and they don't like him. You still want him to come out in that situation because then you could trade back in theory and you can get some more assets.
Yes.
it only benefits the Jets for Dante Moore to come out, no matter what you actually think about him, I would say. So that's something to remember. But yeah, I mean, if Dante Moore's not out, like there's not a lot to get excited about quarterback wise, because if Dante Moore is not ready, then Thompson certainly is not ready. So I would say, if not Ty Simpson, I think Trinidad Chambliss is the one that's been brought up quite a bit lately because he has played really, really well in the college football playoffs. He's a really fun player to watch. He runs. He's a little undersized. He's like 6 feet tall. And he's trying to go back to college for his 6th year, so I don't think he's in a rush to go to the NFL. But
how old is he, Zach? I saw that. How old is he? 23? I mean, he's going back unless did he go to college early?
Let's see how old he is right now. Live research. He's 23. August is his birthday, so he's turning 24 in August. So he'd be 24 as a rookie in the NFL. It is,
yeah,
but
Tyler Shuck. I'm out.
Tyler Shuck is 25. I mean, I'm not saying draft him in the first round, though. Like, if he's your second or third round pick, I'm intrigued by that. And it's not someone that really needs to bog you down next year if he doesn't show it. But anyway, but the point being, like, these are your options. This is kind of the waters you're wading into. If you miss out on Moore, and then, are you overpaying Malik Willis? Are you, just hoping Kirk Cousins can survive a whole season, or that even wants to come here? Are you taking a swing on Mac Jones, or what? Like, Tanner McKee looked really bad in that regular season finale for the Eagles. I don't think he's an option really. So it's like not a good quarterback run unless there's somebody notable or unless the Jets just fall in love with Kyler Murray or something, which I don't see that happening. So I mean, Kyler Murray is here if it's out of desperation. Like, he's the desperation play is how I see it. I don't see it any other way with him. So it just
strike me as an Aaron Glenn guy.
But I'm saying desperation. If you're trying to save your job and Kyler Murray's the best quarterback, you go and get him. And so that's the kind of territory where you're going. And I just don't see Kyler Murray working here, both from the Aaron Glenn perspective and just even from being in this market. Like, I don't think he's someone that would handle being here very well. I do think there's talent there, but he's pretty inconsistent. He did dice up the Jets in 2024 when the Cardinals absolutely destroyed them in Arizona. But
remember that hit from Quincy Williams though in that game where he almost killed him? Oh, that was one of those. That was like the old jacked up, like ESPN used to do. You got jacked up before they prohibited the segment because of CTE and all that stuff. That would have been on there. That would have led it. I mean, he got destroyed. But yeah, sorry. Go on, Zach. Sorry.
No. I'm like, that's just you're settling for Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins, Malik Willis. Who I'm sure Jets fans have talked themselves into some of these guys, but they're just not appealing options for a team that needs to show progress. And are you going to show progress if you don't have the rookie quarterback like there? Like, you need to look at this group and go into the next offseason saying, okay, maybe we didn't win a lot of games, but we have the guy on our team. We have the rookie quarterback who showed some signs of promise. We won some games. We were competitive, blah, blah, blah. Will you be that if Kyler Murray is your quarterback for 17 games? Yep. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and again, like my biggest thing with Kyler, which turns it away, is what Aaron Glenn says he wants in a player is so not Kyler Murray. Like, it's just not him from an off the. I mean, this is a guy who isn't a great leader. You have durability concerns. You have work ethic concerns. Like, you want, like, the running meme is that every time the new Call of Duty comes out, it's like, oh, well, you just lost Kyler Murray for the rest of the year. Like, that's the player Aaron Glenn wants to bring in here to hang his hat on. Like, it's just so not the guy that I think he'd be interested in. So I ultimately don't think that I don't think Kyler Murray should happen. Will it? I have no idea. But that seems like the ultimate desperation move, which I don't think would be a very smart one.
I would say in that scenario, I'd probably even just take a shot at Mac Jones, frankly, like, because he's at least shown some 100%, signs.
Yeah, trade for
like
him.
He's the most intriguing one. Like, he's not going to be a star, but he can if he's in the right offense, he can be good. Yes. So, like, he'd be the one I'd take a shot on, I'd say. Out of, like, all the options that are floated, all the realistic options, like, yeah, if Joe Burrow's available, you go for him. But, like, outside of that, like, he'd be intriguing to me, I guess, for a second-round pick.
Mac is my favorite, especially if you think that Tanner Engstrand ultimately wants to run the offense that Ben Johnson was running in Detroit. And I think that then works. He fits that Jared Goff type mold. He's more mobile than Jared Goff is, but the quick release, go where the ball is going to go. I mean, that's why he works with Shanahan, is it's just like, this is throw the ball where the ball is supposed to be thrown. Put it there. Like, we're going to take thinking out of it, and that's where Mac plays pretty well. So I think that he would be able to do that one pretty well. Let's move on a little bit, Zach, here, and we're going to get into a ton of stuff. We're going to talk about Jets defensive coordinators, the head coaching carousel going around the NFL. Also some playoff games, because the one thing we'll do across this offseason is we're going to talk NFL stuff as well. It's not just going to be straight Jets. We'll talk some NFL. Mostly Jets, but we're also going to talk some NFL stuff. I accidentally went Jet Twitter viral yesterday, and I didn't know that was going to happen. It's always a fun thing when you fire off a tweet, and then it's funny. I sent this tweet basically passed out in bed. Bree made fun of me because I forgot there was a night game on last night. So I watched the Eagle game, completely forgot that the Patriots-Chargers game was on. So we get into bed. I'm like, oh crap, the game's on. We turned it on, and fell asleep within 5 minutes. So my daughter woke up at 3 a.m. crying, for whatever reason. So you go in there, it's rub her back, make sure she falls back asleep. And I opened up my phone and saw that, the impressions that were on this tweet that went out. It was basically about the alternate reality that we could live in the year that the Jets made the decision to draft Zach Wilson. And it's I sent off the SparkNotes version of it, and people were like, if you had this, why didn't you report it at any point in time over the last 5 years? Why didn't you say this before? Why are we only hearing about this now? This is revisionist history. You're just carrying Robert Saleh's water. One, Robert wasn't even the first person that told me about this. Two, we have tweeted, talked about it on various shows, and written about it over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. The first time I think I remember tweeting about it was 2022, 2023, but it's up there before. So we'll get in our little time machine and go all the way back to explain this to you guys too. All right, here's the thing about NFL draft war rooms. People have differing opinions all the time. Coaches feel certain things can happen. Upper management feel certain things should happen. Ownership feels certain things should happen. And then eventually you all talk, you all state your case, and then you figure out the direction that you want to go. So when the Jets were going into that offseason, and if you remember all back then, you can't use revisionist history of Sam Darnold is now an unbelievable quarterback for the Seahawks after being an unbelievable quarterback for the Vikings. You can't look at that. You need to look at the Sam Darnold that was the quarterback of the Jets his final year there, where he was not good. He would make 2 or 3 throws a game where you'd be wow, but then he'd turn the ball over a ton, couldn't read a defense, struggled immensely with Adam Gase. So Robert Saleh gets hired, takes over, and the Jets, Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas, they're trying to figure out what they want to do. Robert Saleh's point of view and the coaching staff, various members of the coaching staff, their thought process was they wanted to run it back one more year with Sam Darnold. This wasn't so much so because they believed that Sam Darnold was this franchise quarterback that just needed more help. They believed in him. In fact, they thought that Sam would be great in Mike LaFleur's offense, which he ultimately ended up being great in Mike LaFleur's offense because it's the same offense that he ran in San Francisco, same offense that he ran in Minnesota, now a similar offense as he's running in Seattle. But that was their mindset. Their real belief, though, was that they needed so much around the quarterback other than just the quarterback. So what a lot of people on the coaching staff and Robert felt they should do was trade the number 2 overall pick. They were not going to draft Sewell. They were not going to draft Jamar Chase. They were going to trade the number 2 overall pick because the Philadelphia Eagles were interested in coming up potentially for Zach Wilson because Jalen Hurts hadn't taken off yet. The 49ers loved Zach Wilson. They wanted to all come up. So their thought process was trade back from number 2, recoup a ton of assets, and then begin to round out this roster with playmakers. Then the next year or the year after that, go and get the quarterback. And then what you're doing is taking a team that now has, similar to what the Jets are right now, everything else but the quarterback and adding in the quarterback, other than getting the quarterback and then rounding it out with everything else you already need. Front office and Joe Douglas had a different viewpoint. The way that Joe wanted to go about it, and ultimately what the Jets did, was he took Sam Darnold and he imagined that he was in the quarterback class with Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson and Mac Jones and Trey Lance. And Joe evaluated everybody independently and then sat back and asked himself, if I was going to draft a quarterback in this class, who would I draft? And Zach Wilson had the highest grade of anybody not named Trevor Lawrence, because Lawrence was going 1 overall to the Jaguars. Zach Wilson had a better overall prospect grade than Sam Darnold and everybody else. So what Joe decided to do was draft the quarterback. And I know people are going to be like, oh my God, how do you do it? Guys, in that moment, that was viewed as the right decision to make. Could you imagine if Zach Wilson turned out to be an MVP elite level quarterback like the Jets thought he was going to be and they passed on him to go draft Devonta Smith? You guys would be losing your mind. This only seems asinine and crazy because Zach ended up busting out and was terrible. That's where this changes here. So again, it's an alternate reality. This wasn't like Joe said, hey, we're drafting Zach Wilson, and Robert threw his hands down and stormed out of the room and said, oh my God, I'm done. No, once they made the decision, the whole organization was on board with it. But that was the alternate line of thinking within the building. And the player that they were going to draft in that trade back scenario was going to be Devonta Smith. So you would have had Devonta Smith and everything else. And oh, by the way, guys, in this last little point, Sam Darnold, he still wasn't going to be getting extended after that year. The Jets were still going to be terrible because the Jets were terrible with Zach Wilson and all the draft picks. It wasn't until 2 years later when they got Garrett and Sauce and everybody that they really started to turn around. They would have moved on from Sam Darnold after that year, probably traded him or just let him walk. And then the player that they were going to get was going to be Jimmy Garoppolo. So Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be the quarterback of this team next year because the next class was like the Kenny Pickett class, if I'm not mistaken. So there was no quarterbacks there. They were going to trade for Jimmy, put Jimmy into this offense, and then use those other picks. Would they be better? Probably, but Jimmy also really hasn't been anything for the 49ers since he was replaced by Brock Purdy. But that's that. Probably we can finally bury this. I hope this kind of provides the extra information that people wanted. But I was, Zach, very surprised as I was rubbing Brooks back at 3 a.m. to see the number of people that were like, you've never talked about this. Why are you only reporting this now? You're just carrying water. Like, dude, you and I have talked about this. Like, when I added this to the rundown today, you were like, we're talking about this again? Like, this is something we've discussed before.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, like, you might have said this in your just long rant there and I missed it. But I like fine. Saleh still it's not like he didn't want Zach Wilson. He likes Zach Wilson and he wanted him also. But
no one didn't like Zach. That's big. Yeah, no one didn't like Zach. They all loved it.
So I think my guess is it probably blew up because people interpreted it as you going to bat for Saleh and retroactively defending him kind of thing. And I don't think that's what you intended when you sent that tweet. I don't know though. I don't know the intentions, but my point being, Saleh is not infallible in what happened. And Zach Wilson being a disaster and them not bringing in any quarterback competition, that all still happened, and Saleh was a part of all that. Saleh's doing a great job right now as the 49ers DC in the playoffs. That was a great win they just had against the Eagles. He's going to get a lot of head coaching interviews coming up. And if he gets a head coaching job, I am very curious to see if he learned the right lessons from what went wrong in New York. And we won't know that unless he gets the opportunity. So that's something I'm going to have my eye on. But I'm not sure he's going to get a job this cycle. He could because there's a lot of openings. And he's helping himself at the right time. That win couldn't have come at a better time as he goes to do all these head coaching interviews. But at the end of the day, there was a lot of things working against him, and there was the quarterback situation, which, as you said, maybe he would have wanted Sam Darnold, but he also wanted Zach Wilson. And but at the end of the day, he didn't do a good enough job here. He had a lot of flaws as a head coach. He's a great defensive coach, and we'll find out when he gets his next opportunity how much of it was on him and how much of it was on other people. Yeah,
he's very much helping himself because not only, that performance against the Eagles was tremendous. That. What is it? They're missing 8 of 11 week 1 defensive starters, and I think it's 5 or 6 of the guys they started against the Eagles were not even on the roster week 1. And Roberts got them playing winning football. And that's his thing, man. The guy can coach defense. Say what you will about the political part of playing quarterback. Robert did become obsessed with the narrative, and that drowned him at times. He can be pretty negative and get down in the dumps, and morale can fall with him. And they absolutely the Jets were right to move on from him. They moved on from him early. They probably should have finished out the season with Robert because I don't think things would have gone
they moved on from him early or they moved on from him late, I would say. They should have, if they were going to fire him, they should have fired him the previous offseason. Yeah.
Correct. But the big thing with Robert, honestly, Zach, and I think what's helping him the most is that not only does he have the 49ers defense playing really well and taking down the defending champs as a major, major feather in his cap, he has a lot of friends around the league. And the way that the Jets have completely and totally bottomed out since they fired him that's it. They've won what? They've won 6 total games since they fired Robert Saleh because they only won 2 games with Jeff Ulbrich the rest of the way, or 3 games with Jeff Ulbrich the rest of the way, and then 3 games here with Aaron Glenn. And the players that Robert Saleh had playing a Pro Bowl level completely teeter out with the new staff and bottom out with the new staff. And I think that does help him. And it's almost like getting fired early is also a benefit because now it's almost 2 full years removed from the job because he was fired week 3 or 4 or wherever that happened. So we'll see if he ends up getting another job. Real quick before we go around the head coaching cycle, because we're going to talk some John Harbaugh, Ben Johnson, some of these teams that turned it around real quick, and then you see the Jets obviously not doing that. We do have an update on the Jets defensive coordinator search. We know Wink Martindale is going to be involved there. I don't think I'd heard somebody say he was interviewing this week, but I second person that I checked in with that said they don't know if that's totally true. But I fully expect Wink Martindale to be involved there based off of some of the rumblings that are going on around the league. The official interview that we know is happening is Vikings defensive pass game coordinator and defensive backs coach Dante Jones. Interesting thing about him is that, one, I love that he's coming from I think Brian Flores is one of the best defensive minds in the NFL. Love that he's coming off that tree. But I found no direct ties to Aaron Glenn. So, they never coached together or anything like that. And I felt that going into such an important offseason, if he was going to go with a first-time coordinator, he'd be going with a first-time coordinator that he had a direct tie to. And that this, again, I don't know that Durante's getting this job. That's not what I'm saying. But it was surprising to see his name involved there. I don't know if you have any thoughts on him.
He's someone that's pretty highly regarded, I know, in league circles. I think he's going to get some more DC interviews. The Jets do need to go through the full interview process. That's something to take note of. The Rooney rules I'm not saying he is only getting because of the Rooney rule, but they have to go through the whole process. So if they have a guy in mind that they want to hire, they still have to go through the process and interview people. And I think he's someone that deserves consideration. I mean, if you look at him and say he's a disciple of Brian Flores, that's the kind of DC they need in here. The Vikings had the second best pass defense in the NFL, I believe. They blitz on 48% of the dropbacks, which, let me see, I think that's the most, the highest in the NFL by a long shot. The Vikings forced 21 turnovers. The Jets forced 4. So, I don't think they necessarily need to hire someone with play calling experience. They just need someone who is creative and able to put these guys in position to succeed, where Steve Wilkes did not do that. And I don't know what that looks like, but I don't think you need to pigeonhole yourself and say, I need to get a veteran guy, because that's how you end up with somebody like Steve Wilkes in the first place. So Dante Jones is really, really intriguing. Like you said, I don't know if he's going to get the job. I'm sure Wink is still pretty high on the list. But, Dante Jones has the ability to go into that interview with Aaron Glenn and impress him enough to get the job offer. So I'm curious to see what happens with him.
Before we go head coaching cycle, we are going to jump in here to the Brian Pincus, who's producing this show for us, cracked me up because he said a lot of people are in the comment section at the moment just losing their mind over Dante Moore, which is cracking me up as always. But we appreciate you guys everywhere you're watching us. We say this all the time, so I pretty much have a little button here. This is what we're going to get for season 3 is a button, just so I don't have to say it. We can just repeat it. But the best place to watch us, we appreciate you on X, we appreciate you on SNY.TV, but SNY's YouTube channel, just search SNY on YouTube. You get access to our entire digital library. That's live shows like the Putback, live shows like JFD, Jets Mailbag, content from Jets pre- and post-game, obviously all of our Mets stuff and our complete catalog of baseball content. But the cool thing about watching this show live on YouTube is that we have that comment section running throughout the duration of this show, so you guys can go over there, ask questions for Zack, ask questions for me, and we will answer them throughout the duration of this show. Couple here that are coming in here, Zack. 2 that actually I'm very interested in. The one, this is from Lars Pop Tartus, elite name. How much better of a floor is Dante Moore versus Carson Beck? God, no, Carson Beck. No. I don't care about floor, the ceiling on Carson Beck.
Did we just lose Connor? Yeah, I think we just lost Connor. So I'll answer that question until he gets back. I'd say no on Carson Beck. I do not think he's a guy that you really want to invest in as an NFL quarterback. I'd be more interested in the Garrett Nussmeier, Drew Allers of the world if those guys can bounce back from their injuries. Nussmeier was someone I think people were really, really high on him last year. He had a really bad year, but I'm intrigued by him. I'll answer another question on here too while we're waiting for Connor to come back, from Gregory Baker. He asked, how about John Morton as an offensive assistant? They won't have a lot to choose from with Glenn on the hot seat. Yeah, they haven't changed anything on the coaching staff yet, which is a little surprising. At least it hasn't leaked out. I do think there's going to be some additions and subtractions on the offensive staff. John Morton, I don't know that he's going to come back here. I don't know that he actually has ties to Aaron Glenn. He got fired after 1 year as the play caller in Detroit. I think they could probably get a bigger name than him, honestly, in terms of a senior assistant. A lot of those guys tend to be available. I get the impression Tanner Engstrand is coming back. I think there was some questions about that maybe at the end of the season. There was some rumblings, but I don't think anything came of that. And I think he's coming back is my impression. Like nothing's official yet because they haven't announced anything. But I think we're going to see some coaching changes in the next few days, and I'm curious to see what they do on offense. Quarterbacks coach is obviously the one I've said I have an eye on with Charles London. Defense, I think they're going to probably make some changes. I have my eye on the linebacker, defensive line coach. And Aaron Glenn, he's going to be turning over the staff quite a bit after 1 year, and it's not ideal. So, John Morton, he was the OC here for 1 year, I believe. I thought he was going to do better in Detroit. Detroit had a really weird down year. But yeah, while we're talking about assists, I feel like we can get. I saw a lot of people talking in the chat about Wink Martindale. There hasn't been any progress on that, as Connor said. I don't know what the holdup is. I imagine I had heard he was going to be in the building last week. I don't know if that happened yet. I imagine he's going to interview at some point. Like I said, they're going to interview a bunch of guys. It is notable, by the way, that some of the big names, Jim Schwartz, it sounds like is going to be sticking in Cleveland, or they're going to try and keep him in Cleveland. Jeff Ulbrich, the Falcons are blocking him from interviews, so he's going to stay in Atlanta. And so what that does is it not only removes Jim Schwartz as an option, but also removes two options as open DC candidates. So you have the Falcons' job is not going to be open for someone to fill.
Do you guys have me?
There you are. There you are.
Whole internet in my house. So that was wild. Do you still have my mic? Yeah, come here. So the whole internet in my house.
I had to fill time for a while.
Yeah, I preached, dude. That was good, man. That was like, you remember like when ESPN did like the Sports Center Dream Job back in the day? Did you ever watch that as a kid? And one of the like tasks that the guys had to do, or guys and women had to do, was like the monitor went out or the teleprompter went out, and they had to just filibust. Dude, that was like, again, like it's disconnected sometimes, so I saw like the ringing of death or whatever this was. But I looked at all of my stuff in here and just said internet gone. So shout out Xfinity for totally just.
It took me a moment I usually assume it's like on my end, so I'm like, did I just get kicked out or something? Because you just like disappeared all of a sudden. So, but yeah, so I covered both of the questions in the chat that he sent to us, and
perfect. Cool.
Was talking about DC a little bit, but yeah, we can go forward from that now.
I like John Morton, by the way. I thought that idea was interesting. I didn't hate the John Morton one. He's also fun to cover. He's just a fun guy.
I don't know if he'd come back here or not, but
no, absolutely. I think there would be like a 12% chance.
That's what I was saying.
Chance. Yeah. That didn't end well, because if you guys remember, that was another one we can.
He got fired for Jeremy Bates, right?
It was Heimerdinger's guy. So Heimerdinger got in Todd Bowles' ear, and basically Heimerdinger was Mike McCagnon's right-hand man. So the Jets liked that setup where they had Jeremy Bates as your quarterback's coach, and then John Morton was your offensive coordinator. Considering how inept or how lackluster of a talent the Jets had that season with Josh McCown, that was the year they like cut Eric Decker before the season and all that stuff, and they were basically tanking as close as you could go for a tank, that team. They did okay with Morton. And then that offseason, they basically, Heimerdinger was like, our best offensive mind is Jeremy Bates. We need Jeremy Bates. Jeremy Bates, our best offensive mind. They kick John Morton out the door. Bates takes over, and then obviously Morton was like floating around for a while. It's latched on back again with Gruden because he's a big John Gruden guy. But ultimately, it didn't totally work out for them. But I would be very, very surprised if he ended up coming back with you as well, right? Probably what you said.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you said. It more. You covered him, so he was not my time, but the Jeremy Bates thing was always funny to me, like even just researching retroactively, because he like was out of football for 5 years, and then 2 years later he's the Jets OC. So obviously that didn't work out. So
yeah.
Tanner Engstrand. I mentioned how Tanner Engstrand, it seems like, is coming back. Like we haven't heard any official word on the staff, but I was looking at their history of OCs. The only OC that has lasted more than 2 years in the last like 2 full seasons in the last.
Wait. Till when? Let me see if I can get this.
Well, just name the last guy to last more than 2 full seasons is what I'll say. 2 full seasons, like not fired during the second season or not demoted during. Like Nate Hackett was demoted, so
yeah,
and he didn't last more.
Lasted more than 2 seasons. So yeah. Mike was only 2 years, right? Because then he got fired. So yep. Mike was 2 years. Hackett was 1 year. Todd Downing was like 3/4 of a year.
Yeah.
Chan Gailey was only 2 years because he got 2025 or 2015, 2016, and then he was out.
Yep.
So you're going pre-me. Wasn't Schottenheimer, was it? Did we have to go all the way back to
Yep.
Really? We have to go all the way back to Schotty?
He's the last one that's been more than 2 full seasons as the Jets OC, which is that's like if the Jets go through another bad offensive season, then Tanner probably, if not Glenn, Tanner is certainly going to be gone. So he's going against the clock already. They need to get it turned around.
That is crazy, dude. Wow. Yeah, because then there was like some point there after shot. Marty Mortonwig, I think, was there.
I'll tell you the ones that Dowell Loggins, obviously. He wasn't
Dowell. Forgot about Dowell, actually. Yeah,
Marty Mortonwig was basically 2 seasons. Tony Sperano was 1 season, and then
Tony,
it was
forgot about
Schottenheimer.
Tony.
Yeah, then before that, the last one was Paul Hackett, the last Hackett. He was there for 2001 to 2004. So
That's crazy, Shoddy. Wow, that's one Kaz would get right away. Kaz is always good with that trivia.
Yeah, he'd be good at that.
All right, want to do a little head coaching circuit spin around? That cool?
Let's do it.
So, latest, John Harbaugh is obviously the big fish. It's crazy, actually, Zach, when you and I were talking about this previously, about that, like, last cycle, there was Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel, and those guys were both viewed as the no doubt A-plus home run hires, or as home run hires as you can possibly get, especially with Vrabel. Everyone knew he could coach. And then Ben Johnson was the hotshot coordinator, like a Sean McVay that like everybody loved and everybody wanted. This year didn't necessarily have that. Like Stefanski was kind of high on people's list, but once John Harbaugh became available, he was like the dude. Everything that I've heard about Harbaugh, and this is from coaches within the circuit, this is from other sources around the league and some within the Giants building, is that the top 2 teams for Harbaugh right now, the Dolphins are flirting around there. You'll hear the Browns, you're going to hear the Titans. But the top 2 for Harbaugh right now were the Falcons and the Giants. I was led to believe that the Giants have the edge right now, and then you'll see if the interviews, once he gets in front of the Falcons, gets in front of the Giants, if anything changes. But it's the Giants and the Falcons for Harbaugh. And then whatever team loses out on that sweepstakes, so whichever team Harbaugh picks, the other team, I was told, is going to get Kevin Stefanski. That's the feel from coaches that are within this hiring cycle as well. Robert Saleh getting a ton of interviews. We were talking about that. He's up to 5 teams now. The Ravens obviously in on him. The Falcons are in on him. The Cardinals are in on him. Mike LaFleur, our old friend Mike LaFleur, he's getting the Raiders and the Cardinals as well. There's a lot of teams. Obviously, they're interviewing people. This is in our notes. And I think it's probably one of the reasons why teams are being a little bit quicker to fire coaches now than maybe ever before. We have seen an inordinate amount of first-time head coaches get hired and like that have success. I mean, it's Ben Johnson with the Bears immediately turning it around. Mike Vrabel with the Patriots immediately turning it around. Liam Cohen with the Jaguars immediately turning it around. The underlying thing that people aren't, you can even go, and he's not a first-time head coach, but the Canal is the guy with the Panthers.
Yeah.
His second year in the playoffs as well. It wasn't first year, but second year with the playoffs, like turning it around for him. The difference with all of those teams and all of those coaches is that, yes, they seem to have gotten the head coaching position right, but they also all inherited a quarterback as well. Ben had Caleb, Mike had Drake, Liam had Trevor, all of these guys had the quarterbacks as well. Because I sent that tweet out. I sent another tweet that went mini viral yesterday as well because people just look. I definitely take my shots at the Jets, so it wasn't like this outlandish thing to just assume. But people saw I tweeted something like, Ben Johnson showing, because that game was incredible, that game against the Packers. Ben Johnson showing what a difference a coach can make. Like, once you get a coach, how quick the turnaround can be. And everyone was like, yeah, fire Glenn, fire Glenn, fire Glenn. That was more of a tweet to the Giants, not the Jets, where the Giants' similarities to the Bears, the Giants' similarities to the Patriots are there far more than what the Jets' similarities are, because the Giants have Jaxson Dart, who they believe in. The Giants have a core group of players that they believe in. They can go get the quarterback, spend in free agency to add those veterans like the Patriots did, bringing in the Stephon Diggs, and like the Bears did with some of their players, and then potentially have a resurgence next year where they're winning 9, 10, 11 games and making a playoff push. I see that with the Giants because of Dart. The reason that didn't happen with Aaron Glenn is there was no quarterback on the roster, even though they hitched their wagon to Justin Fields and just had it blow up in their face.
Yeah, it is funny. We're in a state right now where you in particular, because you cover both teams, like you need to specify you're not talking about the Jets, I would say, for the time being, because everybody is really fired up right now. And that's why, like, even if I cover only the Jets, so when I tweet anything, everybody assumes I'm talking about the Jets, and I even am not always doing that. So it's just something to keep in mind. But this coaching cycle is really fascinating because, I think more and more intriguing names keep becoming either possibilities or coming open. Like I actually am pretty personally, I think Mike McDaniel's a better coach than he gets credit for. Like you can look at it as like they faded at the end and things kind of fell apart a little bit, or you can look at it as he got 2 really good years out of a terrible quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa, and I think the reason why he's already getting all these interviews, both for OC and for head coach, is because he's one of the best and most innovative play callers the league has. And I saw somebody tweet this. I don't know who it was. Like, if everybody thinks he's so valuable as an OC, then he should also just be a head coach, because I think, you get the guy that if your head coach is calling the plays, you're in great shape. You're seeing it with the Eagles right now. Like, the whole Nick Sirianni thing is kind of crazy if you think about it, that anytime he picks out his OC, it goes terribly. And they always just want him to find an OC and a DC who are basically also head coaches. So what does Nick Sirianni actually do?
He's an offensive-minded coach who was an offensive coordinator who can't call plays.
And they never even consider giving him play calling anymore. So
because he did it early. He did it the 1 year with Philly. It was a disaster. Like, it was terrible.
Yeah, but so you have Shane Steichen, who's a head coach now. You have Kellen Moore as a head coach now. You have Vic Fangio, who's a head coach. You had Jonathan Gannon, who became a head coach. Like, when those are his coordinators, he does a great job. Anyway, the point being, I think Mike McDaniel is a much better coaching candidate than maybe some people realize. And I don't know if he's going to get a head coaching job. I think he might. I'm intrigued at the Browns as a possibility for him, actually, because he also coached there back in the day. Atlanta would also be interesting. But I have my eye on him. And if not, then he's going to be the top OC candidate for literally anybody who needs an OC, because I don't know if there's a better OC available right now than Mike McDaniel. So this cycle, you have him, you have Stefanski, you have Harbaugh, like you said. There's all the LaFleur stuff. It seems like he's going to be going back. The only reason you fire LaFleur is if you think you're for sure getting somebody like a John Harbaugh to replace him, and I don't know that they are ready to take that risk, because LaFleur is a good coach. He's maybe not a good coach when it matters, is what it seems like. Like they tend to fall apart and blow leads and stuff like that.
He LaFleur getting fired. He's a big overthinker.
If LaFleur had gotten fired, that would only have made the Jets fan base even louder, because Stefanski and Harbaugh are 2 of their guys that the Jets fan base wants. And you add LaFleur in there, it'd be like, we cannot keep Aaron Glenn now. Like, come on. Like, every big name's going to keep getting fired, and they're going to be like, no, we have to fire him now. He's not getting fired unless Sean McVay is like, actually, I only want to coach the Jets going forward. Then I think Aaron Glenn is probably going to be the Jets coach next year.
Yeah, and I 2 things is like and then we'll move on here. We'll talk a little bit of playoffs. I think what actually acts against Mike McDaniel is that I don't know how good of a coach he will be when what really hits the fan. And I guess you could kind of point to the Dolphins this year, but he's such a unique person and he's such a unique individual, and he's not the guy that's going to sit in the middle of the room and like mother F guys and motivate guys and get everyone going. It's like, if you have a team that's good and playing well, I think he's going to be great like he was for the first couple of years with the Dolphins. But when things hit the fan, I just don't know if he has the personality to control a locker room, which is why he's such a unique individual. Because you're right, from an offensive standpoint, I don't know. Like, the moment he's an offensive coordinator, he's the best offensive coordinator in the NFL. Like, he is a tremendous offensive mind, brilliant person. I just don't necessarily know if he can. I don't know. It's tough. He has to be in the right situation, I think, to be a really good head coach. I do think that. And Miami, when things started to spiral, you saw he lost control a little bit. Sirianni is the most fascinating one, because I actually had this posed to me by an NFL coach. If he got fired, he might be the only head coach in the NFL who could get fired having never missed the playoffs, been to 2 Super Bowls, and I'm not sure that he immediately gets another head coaching job. Like, I don't know if Nick Sirianni got fired today. He'll get interviews. I don't know if he gets another head coaching job.
I think he would get a job
right away.
I think he
right
would.
away.
I don't think. Yeah, I do. I don't think it would go. I don't think he'll go somewhere that's a good situation, and I don't think it'll work. Like, I could see like the Titans hiring him,
or like the Raiders.
Yeah, I don't know about the Raiders because of Tom Brady. I imagine he thinks Nick Sirianni is like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think he'd get hired, because I do think once you remove those top candidates, I don't think this coaching cycle has a lot of guys, and you have a guy in Sirianni, whatever you want to say about him, and you could say, oh, he had the talent, whatever. Like, not everybody wins with talent, so he has more wins and a better winning percentage and a Super Bowl appearance. So I mean, Doug Peterson got hired right away. I don't think Doug was ultimately a good coach either. So
I thought he had a better hype coming off of him, though, Doug. I thought Doug had more hype coming off of him than Sirianni. There was a lot less hate.
He did. Well, he did because everybody said that the Eagles Super Bowl, like, he got a lot of credit for that because of the Nick Foles factor, whereas I don't think Sirianni got any credit for the Super Bowl. So you're right. I don't think it's like 100% locked, though. It's just crazy to say about a guy who won a Super Bowl last year and has always won like 10 or more games pretty much. So it is fascinating because he's just like, for whatever reason, he's like the least most successful coach in the NFL. It's crazy.
Yeah. That whole Eagle team is weird, man. Like that whole situation over there is weird. Like I talked to some people about that team because I'm like, they're literally the most talented team in the NFL. I genuinely believe that. And the fact that they look so dysfunctional is crazy. Like, and they had players like Devonta Smith coming out saying we're running the exact same offense. It's just not like the finger pointing at Hurts. Obviously A.J. Brown and Hurts hate each other. It's crazy. That was one playoff game. I thought the Eagles-49ers playoff game. We'll run through that really quick. Playoff results so far. Probably the only dud of a game, I would say, was the Patriots-Chargers because Justin Herbert looked terrible. Like, that was like, I went back and rewatched it a bit. Herbert was awful, but Patriots advanced 16-3 victory there. Eagles fall to the 49ers. 49ers winning that one 23-19. Bills, great game against the Jaguars, 27-24. Bears, tremendous game against the Packers, 31-27. Rams, 34-31 over the Panthers. That was a tremendous game as well. Last playoff game for Super Wildcard Weekend is the Texans versus the Steelers. I kind of secretly like the Steelers in that game, believe it or not. But what we're looking at next week, Zach, is Broncos versus the Bills. The Patriots will play either the winner of this Houston Texans-Pittsburgh Steelers game, Seattle versus San Francisco, Chicago versus the Rams. I think they're four great matchups. I could see either game going either way. Like, I don't think either of these you look at and you're just like, oh my God, this team's going to blow it. This is a free trip to the Super Bowl. Like, it's going to be a really, really good one. Quickly looking over these, I like the Bills over the Broncos, believe it or not. I know there's something funky right now with Buffalo, but I do like Buffalo over Denver. Like, that's a really good defense, but I think Bo Nix, I just don't trust him in the playoffs yet. I don't trust him in a big game. Probably still scarred because I watched a game the Giants should have beaten the hell out of the Broncos. And, I just think there's something there. I think the Bills can win that one, which would send them to the AFC Championship game. I like the Patriots over whoever they play, whether that's the Texans or the Steelers. I think the Patriots win that one, which would be a Bills-Patriots Conference Championship. Freaking awesome game that would be. Seattle versus San Francisco. I think Seattle's going to beat San Fran. San Fran got their Cinderella victory over the Eagles. They're not going to beat Seattle. And then Chicago versus the Rams. I am back and forth on that one. I think I'm hedging right now towards the Rams because they're also my Super Bowl pick, Rams-Patriots. I think I have the Rams winning that one. But either way, these are going to be four great games. I don't know if you feel crazy different about any of those predictions I just made.
Well, first I would say I think if the Texans win tonight, I think I'll have gotten all my picks on our pod from last week correct. So I just wanted to point that out because you picked the Jaguars and I picked the Bills. So
I did pick the Jaguars? Okay.
Yeah, you did.
The Bills.
And yeah, so as for these games, I think I would pick Bills. I just don't trust this Broncos team.
Same.
Patriots, I am a little concerned about because I just saw Christian Gonzalez is in concussion protocol, and he's pretty important to their defense.
Yeah.
And if it's the Texans are scary. Their defense is really, really good. And if their offense can figure it out, that'd be a good game. I don't know. If I'm picking right now, I'd probably pick the Patriots, but part of me wants to pick the Texans. Yeah, Seahawks are an easy one. That Rams-Bears game is going to be good. The Rams didn't look good against the Panthers, and the Bears had that crazy comeback. Yeah, that might be the game of the weekend, honestly. I'll go Bears, but not a lot of confidence in that, I would say.
Here's my problem with the way that the Bears play, and I love them. Like, I love Ben Johnson. I love the defense. Caleb Williams is really growing on me. I love DJ. Like, the Bears are, like, if we were thinking about, like, Madden, like, hey, Zach, let's start a Madden franchise. Like, the Bears would be one of the teams I'd want to start a Madden franchise with. Like, I just like that. I like their uniforms, I like Soldier Field. Like, I like everything about the Bears right now. The problem is that they're living and dying by this play crappy in the first half and then just come back in the second half. And you can do it when you play other so-so teams. Like, I don't think the Packers are a great football team. Weren't they like 9-8 this year or something like that? Like, the Packers weren't some gangbuster, unbelievable team this year. You can do it against a team like that. You can do it against the Eagles. You can do it against these non-premier teams. If you fall behind in the first half by 2 or 3 scores against Sean McVay and Matt Stafford, I don't see Sean McVay and Matt Stafford rolling over in the second half. I see them still keeping the foot down, making the important plays where Matt LaFleur did not, or Matt LaFleur made the poor decisions. And yeah, you can make another run in the second half, but you're still going to ultimately lose. I think that's why I lean towards the Rams winning that one.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams ultimately, they probably are the best team left.
I agree.
They just the last like 6 games or 4 games, they have not looked like themselves. So that's my main concern. But at the end of the day, they have probably the best quarterback in the NFC at the very least. If their defense can play a little better, I think they have a really good shot because their defense has kind of been an issue. I don't know. The Bears, it's just more like can a team keep winning this way until they don't win that way? Like I'm like I don't know, maybe they can, but like it is hard to keep winning these close games, keep having to come back. Like at some point, you'd think the magic wears off, but I don't know, maybe not. Like Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams have something special, and it's crazy to think that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn were kind of viewed as like the top candidates in the last cycle, and like the 2 different directions those 2 have gone. Like Ben Johnson very clearly knew what he was doing, waiting for the right opportunity. He picked a team that he believed in, and if you look at their offense, it's not like they're loaded with stars. Like Caleb Williams, he's developed really well. He wasn't playing that well for a lot of the time. Like their running backs are like Swift's fine. They get the 7th round rookie's fun. DJ Moore has been bad for most of the year. Rome Odunze's fine.
Rome hasn't done anything big, yeah.
Colson Loveland's the one that looks like a star, honestly, that tight end. He looks really good. But outside of that, like it's not like they're like loaded up. Like they've drafted pretty well and they've signed pretty well in free agency. So just a really good job by Ben Johnson. Like he's one of those coaches that had so much hype that it's like there's no way he's going to live up to it. But he's the real deal, man. Like he's going to be coaching there for a long, long time.
And Ben is kind of the reason why, if I were ever in a position where I'm picking a head coach or I'm hiring an NFL or I'm doing an NFL team, he's the one why I go offensive minded all the time. Because are you always going to get a Ben Johnson? Are you always going to get Sean McVay? No, that's not always going to happen. But the benefit of these guys, the offense stays the same. And I feel like it's so much easier to replace and find a decent defensive coordinator, whether it's like a retreat from a head coach that gets fired that didn't work, like you get your Robert Saleh or you get your Dennis Allen or you would do whatever. Yep. The offense is so hard to find, and the last thing you want is to just have the system change, which is why when the Jets hired Robert Saleh, I was like, you know what? I probably would have gone the Brian Dable route. Like I would have gone the offensive minded. Like now when they get Aaron Glenn, I'm like, I'd go the offensive route. I just want my offensive system to stay the same, and Ben Johnson's a big reason why. It's funny, though, actually going back, Zach, and listening to our old conversations with Aaron Glenn back at like the Combine when he first got hired, all that stuff, and bringing up Ben Johnson and the tension that was in Aaron Glenn's voice whenever we talked about Ben Johnson. Like you could tell there was a legitimate competition over in Detroit between that offense and that defense. Like, it was not kumbaya, everybody loves each other. Even when they hired Tanner, and it was like, that offense wasn't all Ben Johnson, And it's like, well, the offense followed Ben Johnson to Chicago, and the Detroit offense did not follow you to the New York Jets. So I would say that Ben Johnson, yes, is very legit. Last one here, Zach, before we wrap it up. What would be, in your opinion, the most fun Super Bowl matchup? Like, the one would be like, yeah, this is going to be fun. I think from the AFC, it's the Bills. Like, if the Bills are there, I think that's the most fun. And the NFC is the harder one.
Yeah, I'd say in terms of like the quality of the game, I want to say Bills-Rams would be the most fun.
Yes.
I just think in terms of Josh Allen battling Stafford. But on a personal level, I think Bills-Seahawks would be fun. Number one, I just think Bills, it just feels like they're the team, like it's their time team.
Yeah.
For the Seahawks, like seeing Sam Darnold get a shot at winning the Super Bowl, and just seeing him get his chance to like prove all the doubters wrong and all the talk about him not being able to win in these close games. I think that would be the one I'd enjoy the most, I would say.
I agree with. I would also like to see it for Sam. I think if it was like if I'm back and forth on it. Like I definitely think the Bills are the most fun out of the AFC. I don't think that's any question. I go back and forth between Rams and Seahawks because I do think that Sam Darnold, that reclamation, him on the big stage, I think that'd be a lot of fun. But you're right, Josh Allen and Matt Stafford battling it out, and that also might be Matt Stafford's swan song. Like that might be it if he wins the Super Bowl again because He's been flirting with retirement the last couple of years. He had the back issue going into this year. If he gets a second ring, what are you coming back for after that? Because he's like 37, 38, if I'm not mistaken, any of that stuff. So that would be one. Or maybe even, I'll tell you what, a Bills-Steelers. Aaron Rodgers in the AFC. Aaron Rodgers maybe running it? Ooh. Aaron Rodgers versus Sam Darnold just keep the Jet stories going?
He's losing tonight. It doesn't matter.
I honestly think the Steelers are winning. It has nothing to do with
I don't even think the Steelers are not winning. I think they're going to lose by like more than a touchdown.
Butt kicking? Oh God, we're not getting season
I think the Texans are going to rip off Aaron Rodgers' head. I think he might not survive 4 quarters. Is my prediction.
You got a juicy parlay you're cooking? You got a juicy little lay you're cooking? You think?
I don't bet on the NFL, buddy. I'm not allowed to.
Yeah, okay. All right. That's it. Thank you guys. That's going to do it for this episode. First off-season episode of what is going to be the weekly off-season Jets Final Drive. We might have to rebrand, though. Like, I think Brian and Sam and Jeff are going to get pissed at me now because I don't know if JFD, I mean, it's such a fun acronym, JFD. It's fun to say. Like, I don't know if Jets Final Drive works if, like, we're doing this all off-season. We might have to think of a new name and then new graphics. Yeah. And maybe, because I'm really thinking outside the box to make Sam mad at me, maybe we can get gear. Maybe we can get swag and start selling swag. That, dude, if we were in training camp, what would we have to do if we get to training camp and the first public open day, someone has a Jets Final Drive, like, gear? Like, we'd have to do something for it. Like, if they find us and they have a JFD shirt on, we would have to do something, wouldn't we? We probably have to. Like, we have to give them something.
I just want a JFD hat. I want that.
What would you wear? Yeah, we do need hats, but trucker hats because my head's weird. I have to wear. Yeah, that'd be fun. Oh, and then we can. If we're doing this live, we're doing after. I will let you guys in. We're doing our production meeting after this to like scout, like to lay out the whole year coming forward. What if we do JFD live episodes at like a bar or something like that? Like, what if we go to somewhere fun and do like a live, like they do Badlands stuff? Maybe we do a live JFD broadcast. That would be fun. I would like to do that. That would be fun. And then we give out shirts and oh god, they're gonna be so mad at me for putting all this out. But now it's out into the universe, and now we have to do it. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining this season of JFD. Like we said, off-season episode 1 we just wrapped up. We are going to be coming your way every single week throughout the off-season. We're going to have live shows from the NFL Combine, live shows from the NFL owners meetings. I'm not doing the Senior Bowl. I don't know if Zack is, but if he's there, we'll broadcast Zack there, me home, so we can talk a little bit about the Senior Bowl. You guys are why the show has been successful. You guys are why we do this every single week and why we are going to continue to do this throughout the offseason. Again, over 700,000 views across X, YouTube, not even including SNY.TV and everywhere else. That's just YouTube and X from you guys throughout the year. That is freaking awesome. Can't believe it. So we are chasing 1 million before season 3 officially begins with week 1. That's 300 to go. I think we can do it.